The LTO Show, the premier podcast for leaders in the LTO tape storage community. Each episode dives deep into the business and technology issues that matter most. The LTO Show keeps you informed and inspired. Be part of the future of storage today.
Welcome to the LTO Show, the premier podcast for leaders in the tape and storage industries. I'm your host, Pete Paisley, and each episode, I'll bring you conversations with industry leaders who are contributing in special ways to the tape storage community. Our goal is to deliver fresh insights into the business case for LTO tape storage. And today I'm excited to welcome Nelson Nahum, co-founder and CEO of Geyser Data. Now, today we're learning more about a solution that's redefining how enterprises think about cold data storage. If you've been following the show, you know that we're focused on the key benefits of LTO tape technology, the lowest cost per terabyte storage solution available, and the most energy efficient option on the market, and the most resilient defense against ransomware and cyber attacks. But here's the challenge. Some organizations don't want the operational burden of managing their own tape hardware. And that's where today's conversation becomes fascinating. A company that's built what they call a cold data cloud, using LTO tapes as the backbone. They're delivering all the economic and security benefits of tape storage, but as a fully managed tape as a service. That means no capital expense, no facility requirements, no specialized staff needed. For enterprises looking to reduce their archive storage costs while actually increasing the reliability and sustainability of their storage portfolio, this is a conversation you need to hear. Nelson's going to walk us through how Geyser is making tape economics accessible without the administrative complexity, and why this might be the perfect alternative to expensive cloud archive services with their hidden egress fees and retrieval charges. Let's get into it. Our guest today is Nelson Nahum, co-founder and CEO of Geyser Data, a company that's built what they call a cold data cloud, using tape storage as the backbone. Nelson, welcome to the LTO Show.
Thanks, Pete. It's great to be here.
So I'd like to start with your background. You've been around the storage industry for a while, so tell me about your journey before Geyser Data.
Sure. I have spent most of my career working on storage infrastructure problems. I co-founded a company called Storage back in the days, which was focused on storage virtualization software. The company was acquired by LSI, that became part of Ingenio, and then NetApp absorbed it in 2011. After that, I started a new startup, Zadara, where we took the SAN and NAS concepts and moved to the cloud. We developed what we call a virtual private storage array, or cloud edge solution, basically bringing the enterprise storage capabilities to distributed cloud environment. So this was my second company, and I left Zadara in 2023. And that's when I started thinking about the next problem to solve that led to Geyser Data.
So what was the problem you saw that led to Geyser Data? What gap were you trying to fill?
The problem is pretty straightforward. Organizations are generally generating massive amount of data, especially now with AI and so on. And a lot of that data need to be kept for years, sometimes decades even, but it's rarely accessed. Think about media archives, surveys, footage, scientific research data, backup copies. These are examples of cold data that is growing very rapidly. The traditional answer has been to put in a cloud archive service like AWS Glacier, and on the surface that look attractive. The per terabyte storage cost is low and no capital expense. But the reality is that the total cost of ownership is much, much higher than it appears. because of the egress fees and data retrieval fees and API calls and minimum retention period. When you actually need to retrieve your data, you get hit with massive bills.
And that's where the tape comes in.
Exactly. Tape has always been the most economical way to store cold data. But it is traditional require you to own and operate your own tape library, which means capex and facility space, power, cooling, and skilled staff to manage the tape. Most organizations don't want that operational burden. So the question became, can we deliver tape economics with cloud convenience? That was what Geyser Data is built to do.
So let's talk about the pricing model. That's really a big part of the headline here. What does it actually cost?
Yeah. So we are a channel company. So our end user pricing is provided always by the channel partner. But I can say that this is significantly lower than all the cloud archive tiers of the hyperscalers. And the price includes everything. So it's per terabyte storage. It includes the management infrastructure. There's no setup fees, no egress fees, no API charges, no minimum retention period. You pay a price per terabyte, and that's it.
And listen, we've done a comparison for 10 petabytes in the cloud versus tape storage on-prem. Carl Watts did a great job in our session for that. No egress fees is a big deal. Can you put that in context compared to something like Glacier Deep Archive?
Sure. So the Glacier Deep Archive has a similar storage cost per terabyte. It is very competitive on the front. But when you need to retrieve your data, you pay egress fees and data retrieval fees. Even to put the data, you pay API fees that can double the cost of the storage easily. We actually did a comparison for a 10 petabyte archive over 7 years, even assuming a 2% retrieval per month, which is pretty typically for active archive. Over that period, Geyser Data came out about 2.4 million cheaper than AWS Glacier. Primarily because we don't charge any fees.
Yeah, that's a significant proof point. But I imagine the retrieval time can also be a factor. How fast can you actually get data back?
This is another area where we have a real advantage. AWS Glacier Deep Archive and all the other Deep Archive from other clouds have retrieval fees retrieval times up to 48 hours or more. You submit a request and then you went. For Glacier Flexible Retriever, you are looking up to 12 hours for standard retrieval. With Geyser Data, we are targeting access time of minutes. We are not talking about hot storage speed, obviously, but we are dramatically faster than traditional cloud archive services.
Yeah, so how do you achieve that? What's different about your architecture to enable it?
Yeah, it comes down to how we build the infrastructure. The main reason is that we have the concept of tape collections. Every customer and even every workload has separated tapes, physical tapes. When you send 1 terabyte of data, it will land contiguously in 1 or maximum 2 tapes. When you want to read 1 terabyte, all the data is contiguous, and thus our read speed can be 100 times faster than cloud providers that typically spread the data across many devices as possible. We are using SpectraLogic tape library stack. These are enterprise-grade tape library designed for performance and reliability. We are not trying to build our own tape infrastructure from scratch. We are leveraging proven technology and optimizing it for cloud delivery. That gives us a performance and uptime that will be very difficult to achieve otherwise.
Let's talk about ingest performance. If I've got petabytes of data to move into Geyser, how long is that going to take?
Yeah, we can handle multiple petabytes per day for ingest. The exact performance depends on your network connectivity and how you are sending the data. But we have built the infrastructure that can handle large-scale migrations without becoming a bottleneck.
So you mentioned SpectraLogic was your key technology partner. Why did you choose them?
Yeah, Spectra has been in the tape library business for decades. I think it's more than 40 years. And they have built a comprehensive stack, not just the hardware, but the management software, the integration tools, everything you need to run a large-scale tape operation. We use their new Cube tape libraries that are designed for exactly the kind of workload that we are running. By building on their complete stack, we can focus on cloud delivery layer and the customer experience rather than reinventing the tape library from scratch. It is a partnership that makes sense for both companies.
And where are you physically located? Where are your data centers today?
Yeah, right now we have partnered with Digital Realty worldwide. We have data center today in Los Angeles, and also we have a dev and test in Boulder, Colorado. And I can give you a small spoiler. We are launching a London instance next month, which will give us coverage in Europe as well.
That sounds like an exclusive for the LTO show, Nelson. Thank you.
Yes.
So let's talk about who this solution is for. What's your target customer profile look like?
Yeah, our sweet spot is for organization somewhere between 100 terabytes and many petabytes of cold data. So below 100 terabytes, the economic may not justify moving to a dedicated tapes archive solution. On the high end, we are talking with potential customer north of 100 petabytes. But the middle range, I will say, that's where we see the most opportunity. These are organizations that have significant archive need, but don't want to operate their own tape libraries.
Sure. What industries do you see having the most traction?
Media and entertainment is a big one for us, and we started with them first. These organizations generate a massive amount of content that need to be archived, but also need to be accessible for future projects. We have built integration with tools like ArchiWare and Iconic and Spectralogic Rio Media Suite, make very easy to incorporate Geyser into existing media workflows. Video surveillance is another vertical organization that require to keep surveillance footage for extended period of time, but they rarely need to access it. That's a perfect use for our cold storage. We are also addressing unique interests from scientific research organizations, healthcare providers, and enterprises that need to keep backup copies for compliance or disaster recovery.
You mentioned those integrations. What does that ecosystem look like?
Yeah, we have focused on building integration with the tools that our target customers are using. For media workflows, we have integration with ArchiWare, Iconics, and Rio that I just mentioned. For backup and archive, we support Veeam, we support Cohesity, Bacula, and other backup software. In general, any S3 client that supports Glacier extensions will work well with Geyser. The goal is to make Geyser feel like a natural extension of existing workloads rather than requiring some customer to adopt entirely new tools.
Nelson, let's talk about data protection. How are you handling redundancy and disaster recovery aspects?
Yeah, definitely. We offer the ability to create mirror copies of all your data on two tapes. And in the future, the copy can be in separate locations. This supports the 3-2-1-1 backup strategy, 3 copies of your data on 2 different media types with 1 copy offsite and 1 copy offline or air gap.
Yeah. And speaking of air gap, that's always a big topic with ransomware. How does Geyser address that?
Yeah, we have a built-in air gap option specifically to address the ransomware concern. When this option is enabled, any request to move cartridge into a tape drive for reading or writing is completely disabled. The data is physically isolated and cannot be accessed remotely, even if an attacker compromises the system. This is a real advantage of tape-based storage. And we also, because we have dedicated tapes per workload, the customer can air gap some of their tapes and others to keep them online. You can create true air gaps that are impossible with these based systems.
And I wanted to talk about the environmental angle for a minute. Tape has always been more energy efficient than disk. How does that play into your value proposition you communicate to prospects?
Yeah, the numbers are pretty compelling. Compared to disk-based storage, tape consume about 87% less power and produce about 97% less CO2 emissions. For organization with sustainable goals, sustainability goals, that's a meaningful benefit. Just to give you an idea, a full tape library can hold 50 petabytes and consume only 1.2 kilowatt. That is less than 2 GPUs. And it is not just about the power consumption of the storage itself. It's about the cooling requirement, facility space, all the infrastructure that goes along with running storage system. Tape is just more efficient for cold data.
Yeah, and on the operational side, if I'm a customer, what does day-to-day management look like?
Yeah, that's the beauty of the SaaS model or the tape as a service. You don't need to manage anything, basically. We handle all the infrastructure, the tape library management, the media lifecycle, everything. From your perspective, it is just a S3 compatible storage target. You write data to it, you read data from it, and we handle everything else.
Are there any limitations or constraints customers should be aware of doing archive storage with Geyser?
The main thing is to understand that this is for cold storage. It's not designed for frequently access data or for workloads that require hot storage performance. If you need to access your data constantly, this isn't the right solution. But for data that you need to keep for compliance, for future use, or for disaster recovery, data you may access occasionally, but not all the time, this is ideal.
You mentioned earlier you don't have minimum retention periods like AWS Glacier. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, the AWS Glacier enforce 90 days and even 180 days minimum retention period, depend on which glacier. If you delete data before 90 days, you will still pay for the full 90 days. That makes unsuitable for certain use cases when you may need a short-term storage. We don't have any of these restrictions. You can use Geyser for short-term storage need if that makes sense for your workload. You pay for what you use for as long as you use. Very transparent.
Nelson, turning to the future, where do you see Geyser Data going in the coming few years?
The immediate focus is on expanding our geographic coverage and continue to build out integration with the tools our customer use. The UK instance that I just said is launching now and is part of it. We are looking to add Germany and Brazil this year as well. But longer term, we are thinking about data services that can help customers better utilize their cold storage too. There is a lot of interest in using AI and analytics on archived data. And we want to make it that very easy. Right now, if your data is in cold storage, it is effectively invisible to analytic tools. We want to change this. By the way, this is the reason why the company name is Geyser. Geyser is about uncovering the hot value of the data underneath the glacier.
The hot value of the data in the cold archive underneath the glacier. I love it.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of what something like that might look like?
Yeah, for example, imagine if you got years of surveillance footage archived in Geyser. Today, if you want to search that footage for a specific event or person, you need to retrieve it all and process it elsewhere. But if you could run AI models directly against the archived data without requiring full retrieval, that's the kind of capability we are exploring.
That's really interesting because it addresses one of the traditional limitations of cold storage. It's essentially write once, read never for most organizations.
Exactly. There is an enormous value locked up in archive data, but accessing it has been too expensive or too slow. If we can make it easier to extract the insight from cold data without the cost and time penalty to full retrieval, that changes the value of proposition significantly.
Yeah, let's talk about the competitive environment for a minute. You're not the only company trying to solve this problem. How do you see your competitive position today?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any other player currently in the tape as a service space. There are many trying to solve archive data, but not using tape. But I'm sure with our success, some other will pop up. I think our combination of first to market, pricing, performance, and integration set us apart. The no egress fee model is a big differentiator. The fast retrieval times matter. And the integration we have built for specific verticals like media and entertainment give us an advantage in those markets. We are also not trying to do everything for everyone. We are focused again in this between 100 terabyte to 100 petabyte range, and we are building the best solution for that segment.
So overall, what would you say the biggest challenge in building Geyser has been?
Honestly, it is education. The market understands cloud storage. The market understands tape, but tape as a service delivered through a cloud model, that's less familiar. We need to help customers understand that they can get tape economics without the operational burden of running their own tape infrastructure. Most of our customers never used tape before. There is also some skepticism about tape in general. People hear tape and think it is old technology. Modern tape, LTO 9 and LTO 10, are incredibly capable. The capacity, performance, and reliability is all there. We just need to get past the perception issue.
Last question, Nelson. If you had to give your elevator pitch to a CIO who's looking at their cloud storage bill and trying to figure out how to reduce it, what would you say?
I would say if you have got cold data sitting in AWS Glacier or another cloud archive service, and you are paying egress fees every time you need to access it, there is a better way. The Geyser Data give you the same convenience of cloud storage, but with the tape economics and no egress fees. You will get faster retrieval time, lower total cost of ownership, air gap capability, and better environment sustainability. And you don't have to buy or manage your infrastructure. It's all delivered as a service.
Nelson Nahum, co-founder and CEO of Geyser Data. Thanks for joining me on the LTO show.
Thanks for having me, Pete. It was a great conversation.
That was Nelson Nahum, co-founder and CEO of Geyser Data, and it was a great conversation. Let me recap the key takeaways. Geyser Data is delivering the foundational value proposition of LTO tape storage, the absolute lowest cost per terabyte, lowest energy consumption, true air gap protection that makes it the most immune to cyber attacks, and the most environmentally sustainable choice of any storage medium, but they're doing it as a fully managed service, which means you get all these benefits without buying hardware, without managing tape libraries, and without the operational overhead. For organizations that want to escape the hidden costs of cloud archive services, those egress fees, API charges, and minimum retention periods, Geyser Data should absolutely be on your shortlist. And if you're a reseller or MSP, Geyser should definitely be a part of your solutions portfolio. If you're evaluating how to reduce your archive storage costs while increasing reliability and meeting sustainability goals, visit geyserdata.com to learn more. And by the way, if you missed our previous episode with Carl Watts about repatriating 10 petabytes from the cloud back to tape, go back and listen. It pairs perfectly with today's discussion. Thanks for listening to the LTO show. I'm Pete Paisley. You can find the LTO show wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you next time.
You've been watching the LTO show. Thanks for joining us. The LTO show is produced and written by Pete Paisley. Thanks to our sponsors, these guys and these other guys. Don't miss our next episode coming soon. We feature industry leaders in data archiving that supports LTO storage.